What's happening, good people? Oh, it's been a minute. Hasn't it been a minute? Can you hear me okay? Hey, son. Yeah. So I'm doing a live, by the way. That's okay. You can talk to me while I'm doing a live. You just can't keep talking to me. Oh, man. So first, let me give a disclaimer. I got a disclaimer for you. I don't like the way this color is looking right now. I'm kind of, it's okay, but I'm not the biggest fan. So as a YouTuber, I get stuff in exchange for videos, right? I've been relatively successful according to my standard. Not as successful as I want to be, but these issues, I'm not complaining from a space of being ungrateful. And I think you guys on the live stream know me better than to conclude that, but other people will see it possibly. I'm just, because I have a particular knack or a particular niche in that I use zones in my house, which means I use a lot more of my power stations than maybe most do. My issues, even though they are vast in number because of the different instances that I have, you can also look at them as mirroring your setup, even if you only have two power stations, because my living room zone may be just like your one zone. You may use your power station to power your TV, a lamp, and your internet. Or you may have a situation that's similar to my setup right here, which is to power my laptop, my monitor, and I do some things with my fridge and all of that jazz. So I have a lot of issues because I use a lot of my power stations. So I'm not ungrateful. It's not coming from that kind of space at all. It's just that there are certain things that annoy me in this day-to-day solar grind. And because I've been grinding so long, some things annoy me a little bit more, and they're amplified versus compared to some other people, right? Who don't have as many things. This color is really gonna annoy me, but I'm just gonna have to live with it. I don't know why it looks this way either. This is very strange. But anyway, I see that blue icon. What's happening, MJ? I can always pick MJ out of the joint. I can always pick a lot of you guys out of the joint, but that blue is very distinct. Here come my kiddos. No, you can just take turns watching TV. Hey guys, listen to me. Jojo, Saya, look at me. Daddy's doing a live stream. I need y'all to keep a lid on it. Don't be too loud, okay? We're going to start in order of Jojo's going to go first, then Saya, then Adele, and then Ive, okay? In all of this, it's funny because I want to throw my wife under the bus. She's not on the list, but she's gonna make the list. Things that have been annoying to me. The biggest issue that is most pressing. What's up, Setai? Is I have a large spread of power stations, but let's just focus on a couple situations like my AC 200p, which I'm grateful to Jason Noy because me and him, that's the only reason why I have it. Bloody did not give it to me. Me and Jason Noy worked some things out. So my AC 200p is my most capable power station. I don't have the Oops Mega 2 anymore. I had 3 of the devices. I had issues with all 3. And I think that they just got tired of sending me devices, and far be it from me at the moment to be like, hey, can you send me another one? That would be their 4th device. So I'm not in a space right now where I'm willing to go kind of hat in hand and being like, hey, we never finished. I may get to that space where I'm like, hey, can we work together again? But I'm not pressed. AC 200p is my most capable one. What that means, with its 150 volt input limit, maxes out at 700 watts of solar, which is not fantastic, but it's good for me. It's fine. I have a 1000 watt array on it that's laid flat out in my yard. It's five roughly 200 watt panels, but really like it's a bunch of 190s, a 200, and maybe a 180. Because that is one of my more capable machines, I want to put as much solar as I can into it. But because that means I have to put panels in series, that array does not move. So I'm very limited in the power that I can get into that power station during certain points of the day because shade plays a factor. So I have that. You contrast that to I have a bunch of other panels, which I don't think I've officially revealed on the channel. I don't even know if I have a video about it. I'm pretty sure I do. But anyway, I have about four 290s and two 300s. So that's a 6 panel array. Because the OOPS is no longer around, they are all in parallel going into separate power stations. You know if you know, those parallel connectors are very short. They don't give you a whole lot of leg room. You have to put extensions on them to be able to kind of move the panels, but then you still have 2 panels. So those panels don't move, and they are on some of my more capable power stations, like the Duran Duran, the All Powers R1500, and then the Alcatel. I got the Alcatel back working thanks to Ramblin' Bob reviews. I tried this thing. That's a whole different story. I made a video about it. The video will come out soon. These panel arrays don't move, but they're on my most capable power stations. So then I have a Renogy 320 in my front yard. I have the Boujar V400 in my backyard. Those are single panel arrays, and they're plugged into the Afiri at my front door and the Super Vito Man, which is on my landing going upstairs to my top floor. Those panels can move, but the Afiri has like a 1200 watt inverter, a 1500 watt inverter, and the Super Vito Man has something that's comparable. Here's my issue. Those devices are not as capable, and they're also 110 volt, which is another one of my issues. They're 110 volt. So what I'm running into is because they are not as capable, I can't really use them as reliably and as I want to. You guys know that I power my home sometimes with male-to-male cables, more commonly known as suicide cables. I have a whole live stream about the whole suicide cable situation. I don't necessarily agree with that characterization of them. I have done some things to make them safer. But I think I have one right here. This in and of itself is the suicide cable or the male-to-male cable. You can see why this is a problem. If you plug it into an outlet and that outlet is live, this side is live, and it can electrocute you. What I bought to make it a little bit safer, I don't trust this, by the way, I just put a different layer, is I have this, let's bring that in. I have this extension with a switch on it. And then you also have the on and off switch of the AC outlet of the power station that gives you another layer of safety and security to protect you from a live wire, right? But if I'm using that male-to-male switch, that male-to-male cable, and my wife wants to run the dishwasher or microwave some food, the microwave is the biggest issue, or wash some clothes, those particular power stations have their limits. So I have this big dilemma that I can't solve right now. I can't move my panels into a situation where my AC 200p can be getting power during more hours of the day. And the power stations that I have the joints hooked into don't have the capacity to go as strong as my AC 200p, which is frustrating. And you guys know, I mean, some of you have been around since the early days of the Rock Pals power station, my EcoFlow River First power station. I have been making these situations work for a very long time. I mean, I've had this YouTube channel. I look back sometimes and it'll say like 3 years ago. I'm pretty sure I've had this YouTube channel for about 4 years. So I've been making things work for about 4 years. And I'm not complaining about that. It's starting to weigh on a brother. Just a little bit though. That's the main thing. It's not like a major thing. It's starting to suck just a little bit. Let me see what y'all snapping and trapping about. We're gonna take it from the top. What's up, sleeper? I'm gonna get back to that because I don't want to get derailed. The J. Hopefully he does. Finny the kid, will a solar panel stop charging if it's too hot? Stop? No. A power station? Maybe. What's up, family man? Yes, I caught you live. I'm in the UK for work, so my time zone is messed up. I get it. The time zones are weird on YouTube. I think I was talking with Shar Farmade about this. I think what YouTube does is they try to adjust for their time zone. So it's like I'm in Eastern. I think she's in Central. She was seeing on her TV that I would go live at 10 Central. And so when I message her and I say, hey, I'm going live at 11 Eastern, and you look at your TV and you see a different time, it's like it can be a little bit confusing because you don't want to miss the live when it starts. Most Perfect Tech, what's happening? It looks like an old camcorder video, right? What's wrong with this color? Now the quality may be a thing for y'all, but I'm just talking about my skin tone. My skin tone seems a little bit different on the camera. I must have bumped the focus ring. Is it out of focus? Interesting. Yeah, I have a manual focus DSLR too as well. So what's up, Mark? Thanks for joining. Let's see here. Yeah, hit the thumbs up. Go ahead. Smart. I made one with a GFCI on it. Oh, interesting. That's fancy. I'm sorry to be looking away. My Zoom is over here. Dude, I don't want to do that. Every time I click on a comment in here, it gives me the menu, which is weird. So hopefully I don't inadvertently block anyone. Let's get back over here where I'm used to. What's up, Rambling Bob? Rambling Bob, I just mentioned you about I did the Alcatel fix to go to because my port burnt. It was useless to me. And the interesting thing about that is if I still had my Ace Volt, I would have did the same thing to that. I sent my Ace Volt back to Ace Volt and they never sent it back to me. They ghosted me. So I wish I would have had that one. Even though honestly, if they sent it back to me and I got my Alcatel fixed, I was going to give the Alcatel or the Ace Volt to my homeboy. So I probably wouldn't have had it anyway. But he missed out because they played me. I think I like this being bigger. So Green Gooseman, what's the significance of making one for you with a GFCI on it? I kind of vaguely know what a GFCI is. I know Setai, he does some things that are a little more DIY than me, so I'm sure it comes right off the head for him. But I don't do a whole lot of electrical stuff. It's like all in one time. Facts. Yeah. It definitely is all in one time. But the thing about the all in one is I there's so many layers to it. I have to get the device itself, then I have to get the battery, and that's two components that I can't necessarily give funds to. So I would have to try to work with a company to get one. And I'm so behind. I mean, Seth, I talk about this all the time. I'm so behind that I don't want to reach out because then I'm just piling on myself, like with all these videos I got to put out. All right, let's see. This is why I had to say for the Anker for using the cooker washer. And they're like, yeah, you got to step your game up. I'm going to do a live stream in the future about like where to start if you're new to solar. Because some of the people who follow the channel, like some friends and people like that, they're kind of fresh on it. And I want to give them a good baseline to start from. So I'll do that too. What's up, bro? Do I think it's time only an all-in-one? Do I think it's time to move away from power stations to a battery system? Is what Dwayne, my Inno brethren, uh, is asking. Yeah, I do think it is, but only an all-in-one. I have this Bourgeois V inverter that I haven't even hooked up yet, but it's nice. They sent me a 2,000 watt inverter. Many of you have seen the short. This thing is pretty cool. I'm excited to have it. I got this big old Tim Got battery over here. But I'm looking forward to putting this and deploying it. But I tell you, a challenge that I have with deploying this is I don't want to. I don't like the idea of the three components, which is the inverter, the battery, and then the charge controller. So I have to have wires coming into the charge. I mean, y'all know how this DIY stuff works. I like the idea of the all-in-one. I don't like the idea of the all-in-one fan noise down in my basement. I'm not crazy about that, but it's down in the basement, so it's not the worst thing. So it certainly is all in one time. And guys, I'm gonna be honest with you. Another challenge that I have, I reached out to Jason Noy maybe about 2 months ago because he has a lot more devices than I do. And I was like, man, is there really any redeeming value to having a bunch of 12-volt batteries? And he was like, honestly, nah. And of course his workflow is different from mine. I feel like Jason Noy, Set Tight, will these guys are more prone to take a bunch of 12-volt batteries and put them in parallel or put them in series and just kind of make it work for a bigger system. That's not necessarily my mindset because again, I feel like my camera's about to fall off the thing. 1 second. Because for me, options matter, which is why I have zones. Versatility and mobility to me matters, even though I don't deploy things all the time. I like being able to take a 12-volt battery, put it in a particular section, use it to power dump it to a power station and keep it running longer. So I don't have the mind of taking and combining things typically. I have been doing some consolidation. I have been wanting to do some consolidation of my solar panels. If you guys have been around and paying attention, we had talked about that on the live streams. Yes, Mama. Huh? Go get your own water. You know how to get your water. Just don't put too much so it spills. Okay. Yeah, don't put too much. So having all of these 12-volt batteries, I only have 5. Yeah, I really like the mini ones, the little smaller ones. Those are pretty nice. But anywho, let me get through some more comments here. Let's see. Okay, that's what I had to say. Dang, I keep messing this up. Okay, let me try it here. Mine goes off my laptop time. It's currently 4:12. Okay. A solar panel will slow down a little bit when it gets too hot, just like the output power of a car. Interesting. I never heard anybody talk about the output power of a car slowing down as it gets hot, but ST said, fix it. Fix what? That's better. It was focused on the back wall before. Okay, thanks. Yeah, I could move in and out of the zone, the focus zone too. I saw that. Glad my idea worked out for you. Always here to help when I can. Appreciate you. I don't know for sure as I never used it. I had it in hand, so I used it as a switch for my suicide cable. Interesting. Ground fault circuit interrupter, or GFCI, is a fast-acting circuit breaker designed to shut off electric power in the event of a ground fault within as little as 1/40th of a second. Boom, there you go. They're typically like in bathrooms or near water, right? Yeah, it's nice, MJ. I like it. I just haven't used it yet. Just make sure they are series capable. Yeah, true. You knew I was going to say. Server rack systems with an all-in-one is awesome. Unlimited battery capacity that you can add every time you have extra bucks. The real pro for portable stations is just that you can take it. Yeah, that's what I like more than anything, being able to move it around. I've always been a modular guy. My wife wanted to have a TV in the there are so many examples of me being like I love options. I don't have a desktop for that reason. I like the mobility of laptops. Even if I had a computer that stayed in one place, I would probably still pick a laptop. Unless I just had enough laptops to just kind of justify, okay, this is going to be a desktop, it's fine. But for the most part, I'm always going to be looking for multi-purpose devices that I can use multiple ways and move them around as I see fit. So if she was like, can I just get a TV under the counter or something like that? I'm like, nah, I'm not a fan of that, because then we could use it elsewhere. Why can't we use that? Anyway, you get the point, right? Don't you get the point? Let's see. Get yourself an EG4 inverter. Listen, which way is it? The Cash App. if y'all are into it, y'all want to contribute to this I'm getting an all-in-one fund. The good thing is they're not that expensive, just in the grand scheme of things compared to what you spend on power stations. But the most I've ever spent on a power station would probably be the EB70. And I got a discount on that one because I was a YouTuber. I did buy an AC200P at one point, but I returned it. That was about 800. So if y'all want to share your coins, boom, Cash App right there. Because I don't have 5, 6, 700 just laying around to toss against a joint, and I still got to get the battery. Now, there's a possibility that I could take the batteries that I have and put them in series, but they're kind of like, they're not mixed matched batteries, but they're not batteries from the same company. So I don't know how that would work. Back to that inverter. I bought recently, I bought some resistors because that was a concern that I have. Not a real concern. My stuff sparks all the time, to be honest. I just let it spark. It's not the biggest deal. You get used to it after a while. It's a little intimidating at first, but after a while, you give yourself space and you let it spark. But I feel like with this inverter, I don't think it would spark that much, but I feel like the sparks on a 40 volt, 24 volt system, maybe they can get worse, bigger. I don't know. I don't pretend to know. Set tight or Rambling Bob could explain why, not why they spark, but what contributes to the size of the spark. Is it the amps? Is it the size of the capacitors and the power that needs to pass through them to pre-charge them? I don't know. But I did buy some because this is a more like capable inverter. So I feel like, why not just get the resistors to do it right, especially since it'll be like a very serious system that can provide power. All right, second thing. One of the bigger issues, I'll go with this one, is not having enough capacity to store the power from my solar. That's getting annoying too. It's wearing me down a little bit, just a little bit. I'm a person who is very intentional with my words, as intentional as I can be. I don't always use the right words, but the essence of what I'm saying is I am not like cussing and fussing. I don't cuss anyway, but it's wearing on me just a little bit, not having enough capacity in my devices to store the power. So I talk about this all the time. How they kind of span it out is for every 100 watts of solar you have, for every 100 watt solar panel you have, you can get about 500 watt hours through the duration of the day. I have a bunch of 300 watt panels, most of them in parallel. So it's about 600 watts of power. That equates to about 1500 times 2, which is 3000 watt hours. Nothing I have can take in 3000 watt hours. So I'm constantly in this space of either using the power or trying to figure out a way to power dump. You know, I'm the power dump champion. So I have these 12 volt batteries and battery chargers. I use them a lot, but it's weighing on me. And because my system is ever evolving, I get some moments where I find like confluence where things kind of work out. but because these power stations don't hit the threshold of being as capable as I want them to be, I'm always kind of shuffling. I can't settle into a good system like I want to. For example, somebody gave me a super chat. Thank you. Whatever it is, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I appreciate it greatly. The situation with the Alcatel, right? It's a 2000 watt inverter, 2000 watt hour capacity battery. And I did the Anderson to MC4 situation. And I have a couple batteries that have ringlet terminals to 12 volt sockets. I don't have any of them down up here. And there's a reason for that. Because what I did, and I haven't settled into this, but I just, in my mind, it was like, okay, that works. That's fine. What I did was I have two batteries that are configured like that. Because my battery clamp I had a couple battery clamp to 12 volt sockets that stopped working. And I believe it's my fault. I was using too much power through them. And I think it was tripping the fuses. So that was my bad. Live and you learn. But those batteries have been downstairs because what they can do is they can power my Alcatel after the sun goes down, give it about 100 watts every hour while it continues to run. And that really helps it greatly to continue to run when it's on my male to male AC cable. So that situation works out. And then up here from my AC200P, which is often running the other side of my panel. So when you use these male to male cables and you plug them into the wall directly after you turn your mains power off, I like mains, the people who across the pond who say mains. After you turn your mains power off, or your main power, you flip that off, you power or energize your panel. If you only have one male to male cable or suicide cable, it'll only energize one side of your panel. So I have two male to male. Honestly, I have three now. Um, so you have to use two. What you need? Stop stuttering. Slow down.
It's taking so long for Jojo to give me a turn.
Jojo, how long has your turn been? Yeah, I feel like, dude, you going on 30 minutes. So you've had two turns. So they're gonna skip a turn for you. It was Jojo, then who? Saya? Okay, it's Saya's turn now. You've had 30 minutes of videos. Has anybody else had a turn? No. And I've been live for almost 30 minutes. So you've been watching TV the whole time. We typically get about 12 to 14 minutes, and you've had 30. What? It's not working. I don't want to talk about the bunny. Yeah, go sit down and watch TV. I don't know what I was talking about. Oh, so I use the 12 volt sockets down there to power dump into that power station. And then my AC200P, which is typically running my most used side of my panel, I use my my batteries that don't have any connectors on them. I use them with this. So I do battery clamp to 500 watt Best Tech inverter. The AC200P has the stupid charging brick, which is fine. We'll get to that in a second. It has the charging brick and it maxes out at about 400, I believe. So that's a system that kind of works where it's like my 12 volt batteries with ringlet terminals to 12 volts. I use them on a power station that I could easily 12 volt dump into, because what I use is a 12 volt joint to XT60, because I changed the Alcatel from Anderson to XT60. So that makes it a little more convenient. Let me just say, I'm really beginning to be very fond of XT60 as a connector type, because I'm in situations where I don't have to unplug and plug in a whole lot as I used to back in my EcoFlow River days. Let me get some water. Yeah, that's fine. Hey Ivan, help me out here, kind of manage this situation, okay? With the TV and the turns and stuff like that. In there, not in here. Um, so not having enough capacity to take in the solar power it's a problem and it's wearing on me. Um, Having these panels be able to produce about 3,000 watts, I'm always having a power dump. And then on sunnier days when I'm here and I can't use my transfer, not my transfer switch, I can't use my male to male cable or my suicide cable, um, because of the limitations that I talked about in the first situation. Because my wife is here. When my wife is gone, everything is all is well. All is well. We don't have no issues around here. I could deal with the microwave not microwaving as fast. Um, I can make things work. I can figure things out. I got a system for when I'm here, but the limitations of my power stations don't allow me to just have a set it and forget it so my wife can be fine. The Mega helped with that because the Mega 2 and the AC 200p, it was a good time. And then I had all of these other power stations to still power other stuff. So I didn't have as many things on it. I got to give y'all an update. Let me write this down a little later in the joint. That's going to be interesting, but I don't want to deviate from what I'm talking about. Okay, we talked about that. Another thing that is an annoyance to me is all of these power stations I have that do 110 volts instead of 120. It's wearing on me. Ah, jeez. 110 is fine. Um, but when you get to a space where you're trying to power stuff at the level that I'm trying to power stuff, 110, it sucks. You need 120. Sometimes I go to my wall outlet and my wall outlet can show as much as 124, 123. With 110, me microwaving something, again, my wife plays a role in this. And no knock on her. I feel like, look, we pay for electricity. She's used to having what she's used to. Not being on electricity from the power company, it has some drawbacks, especially with my limitations. So let's look at something like a frozen pizza. Typically, we warm a frozen pizza up for 90 seconds. When I'm on 110, I have to warm that dip up for like 2.5 minutes because the power that the microwave is getting is simply not enough. I want to make a video about that, but I can't figure out how to package the video so it's interesting. I haven't given it a whole lot of time, but I need to commit some time to that because I think it's a good point that people need to be aware of. Because when you get into this space where you're starting to power more things, you start to notice the downsides of 110. That's wearing on me. I only have one power station that does 120, and that's my AC 200p. As it relates to my big ones, I maybe have a small. I think my old school Jackery does 120. It's like, go figure, Jackery holding it down for the 120, right? Good for them. But a lot of other things are 110, and it sucks. So not only do I have these power stations that have their limitations with the solar input and so on and so forth, but then a bunch of them, all of them except for the AC 200p, have 110, and it sucks. It's wearing on me. Let's see what else. Let's go to the inverters. Another struggle I'm having is the inverters. So along with that 110 situation, I got a bunch of power stations that can't do 1800 watts or 2000 watts of power. And that plays into a situation with my wife again, because if they can't do, it's like, look, I could live knowing that, for example, at night, if I want to run a side of my panel at night, a limited inverter is fine because nobody's running the dishwasher, nobody's warming up food, nobody's using an air fryer. But during the majority of the day when the sun is out, and we get back to this point about my panels and my mobility and the AC 200p during wintertime doesn't start to get sun on those panels till like 12. You know what I mean? So it becomes a real problem that the panel that I can put in sun to the power station that has power has a 1600 watt inverter. So if we try to use the microwave is not going to work. If we try to run the dryer is not going to work. If my wife has to wash clothes, we can wash them, but the dryer is not going to work. And then that stuff wears on her because she's inconvenienced by it. And you know, it's a fair point. I think that it's in some ways it's practice for, you know, situations where we'll have to do what we have to do, and I'm happy to be able to get the practice in, because if we lost power, then we'd have to make it work, and we have practice in doing that because I want to be on solar as much as possible. But these inverters not being able to go to 1800 watts or 1800 or 2000 watts, it's becoming an issue as well that's wearing on me. Some of them are 1200, 1500, 1600, and that's fine. Some of them, even though they're 1200, they may not be able to power my fridge. Like I tried the Pecron to do my fridge, and the Pecron wouldn't work. It kept volting. It kept giving a volt error or whatever. I think not a volt error. It couldn't do the compressor. So yeah, that's and the like I said, the Oops Mega 2 helped with that, but I don't have it no more. Now the Bourgeois V inverter, hopefully it's 120 and the 2000 watt inverter doesn't give me any problems. It would suck if it did, but I'm guessing that I'm not going to have those issues. So I really have to implement that a little bit sooner than later, but I need to record the video because I try not to do a permanent kind of setup until I record the video, because then I just have to disconnect it and pull it out to record the video, and that's annoying to me. All right, let's take a pause for the calls and see what y'all snapping and trapping about. Let's see here. Have to do live chat. Thanks again for that. That $10, Green Gooserman. I appreciate it. We need one for. Let me see. Hold on. What were we talking about here? I gotta scroll up a bit. Okay, Setai is saying if this is getting annoying. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? All right here. Oh, it's a bad solar day. 304 watts per meter squared. That is Setai is really technical with that stuff. It's interesting. The spark was based on the amount of size of the capacitors from current, like how welders work, high current, low voltages. I'm gonna go look it up. The Alcatel has a mean AC inverter. We can run. It is nice. We can run hours to 2400, and it just does not care. Battery capacity is kind of low at 1.55. Oh, that's interesting. I never thought about that. That's a good point. I don't want to sit there because it's different than what I'm talking about. Can't find an answer, but higher voltage inverters should have more capacitance, so it would correlate. I have 2 suicide cables, just as you described. In my garage, I have a leg on each side of the garage. I have a singular 20 amp outlet on each wall, the outlet with a T-shaped prong outlet. Yep, gotcha. I did not test. I just kept it moving. DC is not that important to me. Setai's talking about something as it relates to the Alcatel video that I made. That will come out soon. XT60, Anderson, Jason Noy. I have debates over this for years. Yeah, Jason Noy loves Anderson. And I like Anderson too. I do, but I'm just having so many problems with Anderson. Sometimes I have a short that I may or may not put out. I had a panel array plugged into a power station that takes Anderson, and it was bugging out. Like sometimes if you don't get the Anderson to seat in there really well, you won't get power, or you'll get power for a little bit and then your power will stop. I ain't never had nothing happen like that with an XT60. Never, not once. XT60 goes in there, good money. But that Anderson, man, that's another thing that's wearing on me. Anderson connectors. Let's see. The biggest problem that we have with Anderson is when it tilts a little to the side, it breaks contact. Yep, same thing. I like Anderson, but don't like that they use the same connector for different amperages. That's a good point. I don't like how much solder goes into an XT60. That's a fair point. You can't DIY. Well, you can DIY your own XT60s, but you got to use a soldering iron and all of that jazz. Anderson is not so much, but there is some making of an Anderson connector that goes into play. If you don't buy them, you can kind of like snap them together yourself. Oh, interesting. I really wish these power stations were 125 unloaded. That's an interesting point. 110 should be 100% taken off the market. It's just a cheap way for these companies to save extra money. Setai made up a good point about 110. He was saying that it's how they bridge the gap between us and like Japan or something. So I think Japan uses like 100 and we use 120. So they make 110 devices so they can ship to both markets. And I've actually seen things that support it. Sometimes on a box when you get a power station, you'll see like US/Japan, or you'll see a checkbox for US and then a checkbox for Japan, and they'll both be checked, which I think is interesting. I don't know if those necessarily correlate. They correlate in my mind. Hey, son, did you need something? What's too long? How long is it? Yeah, that means he only gets to watch like 15 minutes of it. Did you change video side? Oh, okay. All right. Sounds good. I'm not allowed to take my Pecron that had 110. My wife complains the fan sounds weird. That's another thing. 110 impacts things differently. Things will run a little slower. Um, that's the main thing that I've noticed with fans. Fans run a little slower with 110, but that's funny that our wives kind of play that role. I love it. But listen, one thing about my wife is more reasonable than most. I love that about her. She could give me a hard time about many things that happen in this house as it relates to solar, but she doesn't, and I appreciate her for that. Um, she made the list. We're gonna talk about her in a second. She didn't make the list. I'm putting her on the list. Voltage sag. This is a real problem when you start drawing heavy loads. Medical equipment, very expensive equipment. Yeah, that's a fair point. You get what you buy, or in case even given. That is a fact. There was a live stream a few lives ago where I was talking about like, man, to be honest, I think we really need to start weighing whether or not these budget friendly devices are worth our time. And when I say we, I mean us, like the people in this community who are solar enthusiasts. We've been in the game for a while. You know, we started out smaller and we're building our way up. um your first power station, fine, you know, Pecron, oops, all powers, I get it, that works. But your third or fourth, I think we got to start getting serious about going to EcoFlow and Blue Eddy. I mean, I even like Pecron, but it's still a budget friendly joint. I think Pecron is approaching being in like that number 4 spot. Oops as well. All power still got, feel like got a little ways to go. I put them in like the 6th spot or something like that. Jackery's not even on my list, to be honest. Jackery's for a specific kind of person, and I ain't that kind of person. um but hey, if you like Jackery, you know, God bless you. Yeah, we just have to wait until somebody invents moon panel. Solar power should be looked at as extra power to help save money. You would need so much power to release your house draw. That's fair for most people, just not for us. We don't use a whole lot of power. But a lot of people don't use a lot of power. Whenever I hear somebody talking about their base load is like 300 watts, 400 watts, maybe 500 watts if you're like a super tech kind of guy and you got some things kind of running. The thing that really spikes our electricity is heating and cooling and cooking, which, depending on the climate you live in, that is more serious or less serious. So I do think that we can get by off of solar running our base loads. My base load sometimes can be as low as 200 watts. So I can power my house fine, no problem, off of solar. And just keep in mind, I got like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 panels just all around the space. So I feel like it hits me from time to time. And it's like, well, why can't you power this house for longer? But it's like, I have so many challenges as it relates to the things that I'm talking about. Battery capacity, inverter issues. Um, the battery capacity is the main one because if I could have like something like a Oops Mega 5 that I just never had to be worried about getting too full, or at least very rarely I would have to worry about it getting too full, then it has enough power to kind of carry me throughout the night. And even if it does, I could limp it along by power dumping. But the capacity from which I have to draw from will be so much more adequate as it relates to my needs that power dumping will be a little bit easier to accommodate it because I can power dump and then not be on the cusp of just losing my whole situation, having everything turn off. You know what I mean? It's a very interesting thing. So I really, I was thinking about a situation where it's like, man, if I could just save up, good $600-700, should I just buy another 300 400 amp hour battery and just call it a summer? You know what I mean? The 12 volts are there, fine, they're cool, but the main thing that I power dump into is my larger reservoirs. It crossed my mind in the last like 2-3 weeks, like, man, geez, should I just kind of commit to doing something like that? Because again, the totality of all of these things it's wearing on me. Making it work is wearing on me. Another thing that is getting to the point where I'm getting is all of these power adapters. Some people don't like a power adapter here and there, but just imagine how that's multiplied for me. And I'm really tolerant of power adapters. I don't mind them. But again, I have so many that is wearing on me. The Blue Eddy EB70. That device is working really well for me. Just in terms of what I use it for. I power the kids' Xbox. I'll run a fan overnight, so that if I'm on solar power on my suicide cords, I got a situation where if the system goes down because I ran out of power, then my fan is still running. My kids are still cool. My wife is still cool. I use little power station deployments for situations like that, so they're not dependent on the power from my somewhat adequately put together solar power system. So the power cords are really, they're wearing on me. The Pecron having its own adapter, the EV70 having its own adapter, the Sateki having its own adapter. Uh, and a lot of these power stations not having USB-C charging is another thing that is kind of annoying. Speaking of, on the next live, I'm going to try and give away a panel and a power station. I think I'm gonna give away the Sateki because Blue Eddy is supposed to be sending me. They did not supposed to be. They sent me their AC50B, and at first I didn't want it. Just quick deviation. At first I didn't want it because they were trying to get a video and a short out of me, and I feel like for such a small device, for the time that it takes to make the video, the time of making a video doesn't take a long time, but it's like the preparation that I have to do to make the video. And I know my videos are really simple, but I have to use these devices to kind of catch some of the quirks and the nuances of using them. And I also have to be intentional about having it in hand and actually using it to catch some things that I may not catch if I just did a speckless read off. So I wasn't going to do it. But then I agreed to it. After a while, they came back and it was like, well, how about if we send you a 120 watt panel as well? And I was really considering that. And I was just going to do it just for the community, to be honest. It's like, well, why deny folks who may be interested in the AC50B either now or later the opportunity to have my type of video out there? I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I really value my type of video. I went to watch videos on the AC50B and I was kind of like annoyed because I was talking to Wayne, and I was like, man, I've watched like 6 or 7 videos of the AC50B, and there's some questions that I have that just weren't answered as it relates to what I want to know. A couple of those questions are, how accurate is the display? Because Bluetti is notorious for having displays that are off by like 20 to 30 watts or 10 to 15 watts. Another thing I wanted to know is, will the device wake from solar if the solar panel stays plugged in overnight and the device dies throughout the night, or if the device is powered off throughout the night, will solar wake it back up and start charging? Nobody talked about that, which I'm not mad about that. There was another question or two that came to mind that nobody mentioned. Um, and these videos, I've always had this beef. These videos are not, they don't go in a way that is useful to me. I value people talking about the product, talking about its features and the implications of those features. That's a reason why I really have always loved Will's early product reviews, because while Hobotech was more so like, let me test everything, Will would test the stuff, but he would also talk about the implications of those features. So if the EB120 can take in 500 watts, he will be able to say, yeah, it can take in 500 watts, but it can only take it in if you pair these panels in a weird way. So if you don't have two 250s at 40 volts, then you're not going to get 500 watts. That's the kind of stuff that I want to hear, like the real life practical implications of these specs on these devices. Anyway, I feel like I'm over elaborating. I watched a lot of videos and I didn't get a whole lot of useful information from them. But that's why I kind of decided to like make the video, because I value having that video out there that's just like for solar people who know I'm not explaining to you how to turn the device on. We don't need nobody to tell us how to turn the device on and this button turns on AC. I'm not making those kind of videos. I'm making videos for people who love solar, who rock with solar, who have a few devices and are looking for possibly their next device because it does something that their first 3 devices didn't necessarily do well. I was also interested in the inverter. How good was the 700 watt inverter? Because the EB70 had like a kind of, for certain things, that had a junk inverter in it. So anyway, anywho, here's another thing that's tied into the power dumping, the power adapter issue is power dumping. Because I have so many power stations, because I like to deploy smaller power stations to power some of these things around the house, like a lamp or a TV or something like that. Power dumping into these power stations is getting on my nerves. That's another reason why I'm starting to appreciate these devices charging from AC. Now, look, people have always kind of been a fan of getting rid of the power brick. Getting rid of the power brick. You don't have to take the power brick with you. I don't go out in the woods. I don't, go on necessarily like road trips where my destination is going to be a place where I got to take a power adapter with me. But I still love USB-C charging for that reason, so I don't have to carry a power adapter. And because I have so many power stations that use these like one-off situations, it's getting annoying. I'm getting sick of it. That's part of the reason why the Sateki, the 500 watt Sateki, which is I think the one I'm going to give away on the next live stream, is one of the ones that's going to go first. It also has its own issues that I'm going to talk about in the live stream when I give it away. But that's weighing on me. And I can understand why people are like, hey, I just want the AC power cord. And I could always understand it. That was never a doubt in my mind why people didn't want that. It just didn't bother me as much because, one, I'm a solar first guy with my power stations that matter. So any power station that's in a real zone is hooked up to solar panels. I don't really care necessarily about charging it from the wall. But all of these things are linked. My inability to have enough capacity is linked to power dumping to a power station. It not necessarily having an AC adapter that allows me to power dump seamlessly, or a USB-C adapter that allows me to power dump seamlessly, it's annoying. So it's just like, because I have so many of these paths that I'm going down to make these situations work, my issues are amplified for me. Another issue that I have that's working on me is some of these inverters can't handle the power surge of certain devices very well. Ramblin' Bob Reviews, he talked about how the Alcatel can handle like a much, let's say a heavier load than the 2000 watts as it's rated. Here's an interesting thing. My dryer, because it's a motor and it has to take time, it has to take power to spin up and get that thing, that basket moving. Some devices, even though they have 1800 watt inverters, 2000 watt inverters, they can't power that dryer. They just can't. My Alcatel can. It has an issue from time to time, but I think it's because. So what happened one time is I was trying to dry, and what it does is it just spins a little slower. Sometimes it fails, and then most times on the Alcatel it just goes. My Duran can also power my. It's the Duran Eater. I call it the Duran. It can also power my dryer. What I had to do one time is I had to kind of spread my clothes out so the heaviest of the clothes were not at the bottom. So I spread them out so it kind of had a little more room to kind of get going. My dryer only uses 500 watts because it's a gas dryer. So these devices couldn't handle the surge of the motor moving. And every now and then, for example, my Oops 1800, what does it have an issue with? It has an 1800 watt inverter, but when it runs stuff, if you watch the video that I made on it, it starts to buzz and hiss a little bit when you put a heavier load on it. And sometimes it doesn't work. So it's like these devices, they may say 1800 watts, but when you really put them down to, to the test and using them on certain devices, like, look, throwing an 1800 watt load on it with like a heater and, a couple 300 watt light bulbs, I think that's different from dealing with the surge of a motor trying to get something going, or a compressor trying to get your fridge cooled. You know what I mean? I think that, and there's fancy words for those different loads, like inductive and whatever the other opposite of that is. But it's something that it's annoying not being able to handle the surge. This AC 200p, I mentioned it before. It can only run my air conditioner if no other load is on the air conditioner. The air conditioner only uses 1,000 watts constantly. It's a 10,000 BTU. Typically, 10% of your BTU rating is what your air conditioner is going to use. I listen. I can't have a 10-watt lamp plugged into it. If that's plugged into it, this air conditioner will not turn on. I can't have a power strip plugged into it. If the power strip is plugged into it, the air conditioner will not turn on. I can't have a AC to DC. What's that little thing? No, I don't think that's necessarily true. It's like my little charger. It goes to the wall AC, and then it gives you two USB-C ports and two USB-A ports. I don't think that one impacts it as much, but I literally have to turn everything off of this power station just to get a 10,000 BTU air conditioner to run from an AC 200p from Blue Yeti. That boggles my mind. It boggles my mind. I don't even think my what's that thing called? The Grecel joint that I made a video about in the last like 2 or 3 months. It has a 2200 watt inverter, and it can barely run my dryer, and it can't run this air conditioner. So that annoys me as well. Let me see what y'all snapping and trapping about. Let's see. All right. Oh, okay, I didn't get to some of these. If 4 are series capable, I think that's enough to start with EG4 6000 XP. You should get caught up so you can reach out to Big Solar, to Sig Solar, our current connector, to get one. Yeah, I'm working on it. Not as hard as I should be working on it, but I'm working on it. Your house could probably run off of one of those and 4 12-volt batteries. If they sent along one server rack too, then you would probably have a day's worth of battery. Okay, interesting. A new version of Vivaldi is ready. Get an AC. Get a Blue Yeti AC 500 with 6 batteries, and you can take it from place to place. All right, Ramblin' Bob. I don't know if you swimming in it over there, but I ain't. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I wouldn't buy um an AC 500 or AC 300. Hey guys, I didn't let y'all put the TV on so y'all could be yelling and screaming and stuff. How long has this video been going? Ivan, I feel like, are you doing your job?
Oh, it's 18.
Yeah, it's somebody else's turn. I think it's Ivan's turn. Yeah, it was the same situation for me with the, what was it? It was either the AC 200. No, I don't think I was ever interested in the AC 200 because that one wasn't LiPo. I think it was the AC 200P, where I wouldn't buy that one when you had the AC 200 Max, or it just had been around for a while. I think the AC 200 Max was just about to come out, which had the 900 watts of solar, the 100 watt PD port. I don't think it used a power brick, but maybe it did. It had some subtle improvements, and it was only like $200-300 more. I think it was only like $200 at its Kickstarter or whatever Indiegogo price. So I just felt like if I was going to entertain buying an AC 200P, I would just buy an AC 200 Max. But with the AC 300 and AC 500 having been out for so long, they really need to update those devices because those things have been out for like 2-3 years. Whereas like you got Blue Eddy, EcoFlow has 3 different versions of their big device. And it's like, what are you doing, Blue Eddy? They've released so many under 2000 watt hour devices, but haven't updated the AC 300 and the AC 500. At least to my knowledge, I haven't seen anything. Let's see. Got that one. Moon panels. We have the Oops Mega 2 is a nice power station with 10,000 watts of capacity. Do you buy extra batteries for these power stations, Ramlin Bob? 110 is from like 100 years ago. I dig that. Get yourself a transfer switch. I want to. A cheap charge controller. I have one. Hook it up to a large array to that battery. Hook up the AC 200P to your transfer switch and the battery to your AC 200P to help extend runtime. Interesting. I feel like I have to come back to that. The Big Blue had a really bad XC60. That sucks. Now you understand why we do not like Anderson anymore. Facts. What's up? Your name has been different for so long. It escapes me. I know it's Joe, but I forget what your name used to be. You can DIY anything. Just remember to bring a fire extinguisher. I ain't mad at that. I don't know what you never thought about, but I'm glad you're thinking about it now. Okay, Japan has 100 and 110. Interesting. True. Yeah, it does. You're right. Lights and lamps and stuff. Dell is super cool. Yeah, she is. My wife has decided that she loves that I have power stations and power banks. She's using a power bank now herself. That's for the win. You know what I mean? I love it. 110 creates more heat on circuit boards compared to 120. That's interesting. Voltage sag is why you want the 125 or 122. Yeah, that's fair. What do I think about Anker? I think Anker is too big a company to make some of the missteps that they have been making with these power stations. Anker should be, and far be it from me to pretend to know what their power station division has as it relates to resources, but you got EcoFlow out here, you got Blue Eddy out here, you even got Jackery out here. Jackery is not a industry leader in any way, shape, or form, but Anker making some of the decisions that they're making, it surprises me. You know, giving us 60-volt input limits on these serious power stations is a slap in the face, and I just feel like it shouldn't happen. You should not be doing that. But I'm not. Listen, as my man says, I'm not poo-pooing on Anker. But I just feel like I expect more from Anker. I expect Anker to be pushing the envelope. but they're kind of, I don't know what space they're fulfilling. They're just making power stations. They're pushing it in some way. I don't know. Y'all let me know what y'all think about Anker, and maybe I'm missing something. Heating, cooling, and cooking. I don't think Anker's quality is good. Oh, that's interesting. Joe, what was your name before the practical gadgeteer? It escapes me. I started to get one of those solar mini splits the other day. It has MC4 cables on it. I'm interested in mini splits, not from a practical like I could do it in the next like 6 months, but I really like the idea of having a mini split. Honestly, if we all had inverter heat pumps, even the heating and cooling would be handled well on solar. Yeah, that's above my pay grade. We talked about that before, but I don't necessarily understand it. My friend and I was just talking about that, how the gas bill kills us. I have a Medea inverter AC unit, 8,000 BTU that will run on a power station. How many watts does it use? Or are you just saying that the startup of the compressor is not an issue, so it will run on power stations? But I'm still interested in the watts. We would love to have a 1,000 watt hour of battery capacity as a super reserve. We're at almost 40,000 watt hours right now, little by little. That's interesting that you say that. I can't even fathom that. We use about, ooh, y'all, when I was sick. So I had COVID, I believe, I had it for about 10 days. Um, so what that meant was, and it was summertime, I had COVID. My wife was sleeping downstairs, so she had to run an AC downstairs. I had to run an AC a lot of the time because my temperatures were like spiking. Like I was cool and I was hot. I was cool and I was hot. And I rested better when I was cool. And then my kids have two separate rooms. So that was four air conditioners. I got up to one day, we got up to 45 kilowatt hours of usage. And I know that may seem somewhat normal for some people, but we are 20 kilowatt, 18 kilowatt hour a day kind of family. And that can be kind of high, 16, 12. Sometimes we get down to zero with solar. Sometimes we get down to 3, 4, 7, 8 with solar. Man, when that joint went up to 45, I was like, oh, Lord. But even in the grand scheme of things, our bill is not going to be crazy. It's just going to be normal compared to like what we used to get like 2, 3 years ago before like solar was a big impact on my bill. But man, that was a struggle. So I only need, if you even do 3 days of autonomy, like what you have right now, Rambling Bomb, will be fine for me. That's why I was just like, man, should I start thinking about this idea of like just taking some money, grabbing some money maybe from savings and just buying a decent battery. So I simplify my situation and my situation works better. Now, I got a question for you, Setai. You mentioned the EG4. I think most Prep and Tech mentioned the EG4 6000X. What's the inverter joint on that? Because if you look at how much my microwave uses, you take into account how much my dryer uses when it starts up, my fridge uses when it starts, the air fryer. I don't know that one of those joints is enough. I would still have to be strategic. It's still not a set it and forget it type of situation. Of course, I can manage my wife in that situation. Like, hey, because we have to manage some things now. It's like we can't run the air conditioner and the dishwasher at the same time because they're all on the same circuit of this back wall kitchen situation. I'll see if y'all answer and keep working through these comments. What time is it? How long have I been going? Okay, that's not bad. My first was an Anker, a Powerhouse 388 when the EcoFlow River Pro, then the EcoFlow River Pro, AC200 Max, then last year the EcoFlow Delta 2 Max, and this year the Anker F3800. Interesting. I think that Anker has a dual solar inputs, right? Excuse me. I was just telling him how I wish one of these companies can come up with a power station for gas to save money. Bluetti finally started going away from that 7909 barrel, replace it with the XT60. Yeah, I was talking with Grant Akers, who's probably listening. She was saying she probably wouldn't be able to comment. I was talking with Grant Acres, and I was like, "You have the AC 180, right? Does that have XT60?" And she was like, "No, it has barrel." And that saddened me. I don't think I've had any issues with 7909, to be honest. But I can see how those issues would happen. And then the Anker 180 has a 7909 high up on the device, which I am never a fan of because the wire itself could put stress on that port. Me being a kid who grew up in the 80s playing Nintendo and Super Nintendo and not managing your wires well and things having a short in it, and the frustration, the sheer frustration of trying to do something and hold a cable a certain way and all that jazz, it has had an impact on me. So I don't want cable problems. I don't want port problems, especially when a lot of these devices have singular ports for solar. Then you can no longer charge them with solar if that port breaks. What do you need, Mama? Saya, can you please help her out?
Is it okay for me to see you in the living room?
Nah, we're not doing that.
Then,
Nah,
kitchen?
really.
What?
You asking for permission to eat in the kitchen? Can you give her some cinnamon toast crunch, please?
But she always asks me.
Well, I'm asking you.
Adele always asks me and not someone else.
I understand that. I'll take that into consideration next time. Okay. So we'll try and switch it up so you're not always carrying that load. All right. But can you do this for me, please? I don't know. Probably not, because we're supposed to be going somewhere today. Don't say where we're.
Can we go again?
Hey, chill. Just go away. Go away. I was trying to say, don't say it, but you said it anyway. Don't say it, please. Dun 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 dun. So it's crazy. Blue Eddie probably started. Boom, boom, boom. Telling him, yeah, I caught that. I'm not a fan of XT60 even. 200 watts will heat it up. Oh, that's interesting. I don't know that I agree with that. It's rated for 60 amps. I don't understand how 8 amps will heat it up. 10 amps will heat it up. That's interesting. I use the EcoFlow Delta 2 running all of my appliances 24/7. My 36-volt battery bank is 15 kilowatt hours charged by panels. That's what's up. I keep my Delta charged at 500 watts from the batteries. I dig it. That's dope. I don't know what that means. Yeah, I don't cable more than anything versus connection. The E something is the same as the E3. The nice thing about those two power stations, what's the E? The E5000 LFP? What is that? Pecron?
It's your turn. She's eating. No, we have to wait for it. I'm coming now. I'm coming now.
We love Jason Noy's videos, but we do miss the old videos. Remember when he slept? You missed the old. I don't know if it's about his old videos. I feel like you just missed his sparse videos that were about power station testing. He's still kind of. I think he just went camping a minute ago. It's on sale. No, it's fine. You could talk about it. Help the community. The E1500. It was at $7.99 at one point. I think it was like $6.99 at one point. I reached out to them. I was like, "Hey, I should make a video," but I think their pricing was wrong, and it was like, we won't have no more of that. Yeah, to be honest, Ramlin Bob, I don't care. I do care about power dumping. I don't like to necessarily power dump over AC, even though AC and DC feels the same these days. I've been giving that some thought lately, but I don't want to get stuck there. Yeah, y'all have the ability to do that. We can't do that, sleeper. I envy that situation. That system is pretty cool. Basically, what he's talking about is, if you guys know, we have these grid tie inverters that have questions of legality because they will feed into your current power. But here in the States, if you're going to make something like that work, you can't push more power than you use. So you have to really base load it out. Setai and I have had many conversations about this because it's just not worth it for me. To manage it, my 200-watt base load can sometimes go lower, and then I'm not always around. So those inverters can feed into your existing power, and then your home will use that power that comes in. But if you're not using enough power to absorb that power, it'll go back to your electric company, and your electric company can get in a tizzy about that. But over there, y'all are allowed to do that. You can feed the grid up to a certain amount of watts without having any issues. We can't do that here. You know what's interesting about EcoFlow? EcoFlow, because I've never had any of their bigger power stations, they're never really on my radar. And for so long, they had a very confusing lineup that I could never quite make sense of what they were doing. Like the 1300, the 1000, the max. You know what I mean? Like it's starting to make a little more sense now, but I don't pay attention to it. I'll be honest. I don't know if EcoFlow will ever work with me. I'm not sure if they will. They've never reached out to me for anything. It is what it is. It is what it is. I'm sure they'll come around at some point, but they may never come around. Who knows? And to be honest, for that reason, they're not really on my radar. Um, EcoFlow. I was thinking about EcoFlow seriously at one time, and I missed out on the opportunity because their Delta Pro, I think when it first came out, their Kickstarter price was really good. It's not good. It wasn't good in consideration of what their devices cost now. But $3,600, I think the Delta Pro was going to be 36 retail, and they were selling it for like 19 or 2,000. I was seriously considering that if something like that came up again, I would kind of spend a coin. And that was kind of around the time when I was considering buying the AC200 Max, which was probably like 17, and then the AC200P was probably like 15. Um, but the EcoFlow, I've always seen EcoFlow as one of the industry leaders in terms of pushing the technology forward. But they have really let me down with that River 2 series. Um, the base model was kind of like, eh. I actually have the mid-range one, and then it has the whining sound. And then the EcoFlow River Pro, I was just looking at it today. It's $500. It's like $449 on sale. And I'm like, how can you justify buying an EcoFlow River Pro when you could get an AC 180 or a Delta 2 for $699, sometimes $650? And that's an incredible jump from 700 watt hours and 1,000 watt inverter, or a 700, 800 watt inverter, 200 watts of solar, up to 500 watts of solar, 1,800 watt inverter, and 1,000 watt hours of battery. The watt hours of battery is not really that great, but in terms of being a good pass-through machine for solar, those devices that are in that like $600, $650 price point are really useful for people who are getting into a power station for the first time. It's like, what a time to be alive. You can pretty much run everything in your house if stuff hits the fan for $700. We couldn't do that 2 3 years ago without spending like $2,000. um, it was $1 a watt was the standard for a long time, and now we're at 60, 70, 50 cents a watt. Sometimes it's not often, but sometimes we get about 50 cents a watt. All right. You are trying to explain surge power. That is that is completely different from that of rated power. I don't know why that clarity is being given. Give me a little insight. I'm not sure what's insane. Okay. Mine uses 3,800 watts per hour for a few seconds when the compressor and fan motors start. Okay. The power loss that some people speak of doesn't matter to me. I use and I'm going to use my power stations in any way that they work for me every day, all day and night. I'm just interested in saving money. Facts. Fair enough. Okay. E is me. AC200 Max and Forward are good power stations for Blue Yeti. Okay. The big Blue Yetis have too much of a convenience cost, I think. Wiring all ones can be annoying, but the price for performance is just so much better. The EP9 is the only Blue Yeti with decent solar. That's interesting. Yeah. You can't beat an all-in-one, man. They're too easy to put together. The stuff is built into the batteries these days. You don't have to worry about bus bars and uh, T-class fuses and putting wires up against boards and all of that jazz. It's just all-in-one is the way to go. The only thing is the fan noise that some of them have on the earlier models. I think the 6000X maybe has quieter fans. I'm not sure though. I don't keep up with the all-in-ones, and nobody makes consistent content about all-in-ones. I feel like Will used to be heavy into all-in-ones, and then the dude um, David Paz, you could kind of rely on him for some all-in-one content, but no, that I feel like there's really a gap in YouTube for people making content about these all-in-ones. There's enough all-in-ones and battery server rack batteries for somebody to make a channel just kind of about that. At least in my opinion. Um, yeah, that doesn't strike me as much to be crazy about. The features on the AC300 were ahead of its time for sure. I'm sure it's still a very extremely capable unit to spend money on now. But me being a tech guy, I'm just like, nah, you can't have something out here for 3 years and then be charging me a certain amount of money for it. But they are coming down. They are getting cheaper, but I feel like it took them too long to get cheaper. But they're getting cheaper. Yeah, that's true. I do buy. Okay, you do buy extra batteries. I get it. You finally bought a Delta Pro. Which one? The OG, the 2, or the fancy 3? I don't agree with that. Not in this market. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. No, fix it. Improve it, please. Oh, okay, the Japan comparison. Got my eye on the AC 180. I don't know, man. With that barrel connector, I would kind of pass on that one. I don't know if EcoFlow has made their Delta 2 fan quieter, but if they did, I would go with the EcoFlow over the AC 100. I also think the Anker is a good joint. Jason Oy made a video about all three. If you watch that and you still land on the AC 180, I dig it. I ain't mad at it. They're all good machines. No, man. Your name was Joe something. Joe, was it Joe Trot? It's coming to me now. And it's funny thinking about the name Joe Trot. It was during a time where we would delve into political conversations from time to time, and thinking about it made me think. I wonder what Joe feels about the political whatever now. But don't use your more colorful language. I know you can throw some colorful language from time to time. The Delta Pro Ultra. I am very impressed with the Delta Pro Ultra. Let me just say that. But it's so far out of the realm of reasonability for me, one, affording them, and two, being sent one. But I really like that device. I like what they did with the Ultra. I do. Yes, the Medea has an inverter, which is awesome because they start low power and they can run at lowish power once the room is cooled down. Interesting. Oh, the Tim got is nice. Somebody said the screen, they've had issues with the screen just not working, which sucks, but it's still a good capacity battery, but the screen is nice. The button is just really squishy. Split phase, 6,000 watts total, 3,000 per leg. I don't know what that means. What do you mean 3,000 per leg? I mean, I know what that means, but does that mean the two outlets or however many outlets it has on it, they're split into 3,000? So if I had to run using a suicide core, I would do one cord from one leg and one cord from the other leg. That would work fine. How much is it? How much is this joint cost? Yeah, facts. All in one server rack is the way to go. The only issue I have with Will is he's so practical that he doesn't revisit topics. I wish he would revisit some topics. For example, he has a very popular video that talks about the quality of flex panels and them being junk. I can tell you that I've been using flex panels, not adhered to a car or anything, but just laying them out, and they've been lasting just fine. I'm starting to notice that some of my folding panels are just falling apart. Not falling apart. The stuff is cracking. Like my all power 600 watt panel, it don't work no more. And because I have so many videos, I'm backed up with all powers on. I think I owed him like two more videos. I can't even really push them so hard to replace the panel because I got to make these other videos for them. I have to make the R1500 video. I think that's actually it. That's all I'm in the hole with for them. And I've also had a lot of issues with the R600. I love that little R600, but the video that I make, if I make an update video for them, they stripped out a lot of the best features, and I think it's because the features were too, what's the word? They pushed the envelope too hard. Pecron did the same thing with that E600 LFP. They dialed it back from 400 watts of solar, 300 watts of solar to 200 or something like that. It's really interesting. I can't remember. Don't quote me on it. But it used to have a fire amount of solar you could put into it, but it doesn't anymore. I think it maxes out at 300 instead of 4 now. All right. The last thing, it's not wearing on me, so that's not true. But my wife is up now. She's been floating around here. My wife has an impact that she is having on the solar situation, not in a bad way, but it's just me kind of just venting to y'all what it's like to kind of deal with her as it relates to solar. And I know Setite is going to disagree with me here, but I'm just going to ignore him. Now, if somebody else agrees with him, I may give some weight to the may. Sometimes, so they say a deep freezer can be fine for at least 12 to 24 hours, depending on like how full it is. And I may have a deep freezer go offline for let's say like 4 hours or 6 hours sometimes. And I feel like my wife would not be happy about that. But it's not based on information that has been researched. It's just based on the feeling of, okay, this doesn't have power, this sucks. Now, the fridge, I think my fridge can be without power sometimes for like maybe 60, 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours. But a fridge can keep cold your food cold for up to 4 hours. And I always put out this idea that if power went out and I wasn't opening the fridge, I could then not have it be powered up the whole time because they use about 125 watts per hour. They don't use that power the whole time, but I think cumulatively they use about 100 watts an hour. So I am of the idea that if the fridge is without power for a little bit, it's fine. Another thing that my wonderful wife uh, gets up in arms about is when we buy food from the grocery store. You can't come in the frame. When we buy food from the grocery store, let's say she goes to like Sam's Club and gets a bunch of frozen stuff, and then she pops over to Walmart to get some other stuff, and then she has to drive home. Why is it when this woman who's standing right here, when she gets home, it's like, oh, it gotta go in the freezer. It gotta go in the freezer. The ice cream is gonna melt. The food is gonna go expire. And I'm just like, relax, man. It's an extra 6 minutes. Like, give me 10 minutes to get this stuff out of the car and into the house. It's fine. Take it easy. Relax. But she'll just be like, I need the stuff in the house. I need to put it away. And I'm just like, what's an extra few minutes? I feel the same way about the fridge. She gives me a hard time about the fridge being off for a while. Like, I don't want the food to spoil. It spoils quicker. And I'm just like, I don't know that I believe that. Nothing about what I've looked into. I haven't done extensive research. I've done storm and preparedness based research for power outages. But I'm just like, it's not that big a deal. Relax. I want to see what y'all have to say. That's for sure. So let me scroll down. Let's see here. And we have insulated bags. That's right. I'm just like, take it easy. I'm gonna put a 12-volt freezer in the van. She keep messing around. Like, just calm down. Put the stuff in the freezer. Put all your just put it in the freezer. It's gonna be fine. Let me see. Tell. Sharp Heart may say, hey baby. Lowe's, what's happening? Yeah, they were SIGs, Lowe's. I have to reach out to Bourgeois because I have a really good idea for those SIGs panels. I can't say nothing because I don't want to give my idea away. But it's 1,400, maybe 1,500. That's a lot. Holy moly. That's a lot of money just in terms of relative to the type of money that I want to spend on one. I'm sure it's worth the money. Ramblin' Bound says the EcoFlow Delta Ultra is a beast. Christmas list for sure. Yeah, it's nice. Okay, yeah, your YouTube name used to be Joe Trot on here, Joe. Very early on in like the lead farmer days, it was just Joe Trot, and I'm not sure why. Sometimes it shows people. It never shows me Joe Trot, but I've seen the Onus bonus one. It depends on where I'm at in YouTube, whether it shows me y'all custom name or your real name. The real problem with server racks is you have to get them certified if you connect them to the grid. Yeah, I ain't gonna never be connecting nothing to grid. Do the AC 300 and AC 500 wake on solar? Those joints don't wake on solar? This is kind of ringing a bell for me. Because I think Will made a big deal about it. Holy moly. If they don't wake on solar, that would be pretty bad. It is insane. I don't understand it. Why does I'm reading comments over in YouTube instead of in StreamYard? I wonder if I can make the StreamYard comments bigger. They should have that in the settings. It makes my picture kind of smaller, but this will work. Nice. My eyes are getting old. Okay, get insulated bags. Look into CDC research on bacteria growth at various temperatures. I think that's the unknown that I need to control for, bro. I just need to get into the temperatures. I need to know, and I need to put a thermometer in these various places so I could be sure. Okay, the fridge has been off for, let's do 2 hours, or monitor it for 2 hours. It's been off for 60 minutes. What's the temperature? It's been off for 90 minutes. What's the temperature in the fridge? So I can actually know. And then as it relates to bacteria growth, we 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 stockpile. We have a good bit of food in our fridge, but we don't have so much food that if you don't eat it in the next dot dot dot, it's going to be a problem. Um, so if bacteria starts to grow, and then it'll be an issue in 3 days, that food probably won't be around for 3 days. So I need to really inform myself on what you're saying. So I'm gonna look into that. I'm not saying she would do that, but when you're going to buy groceries and you buy something frozen, you don't just run home. At least most people, I don't think, do that. You grocery shop, you buy your frozen stuff, and if you needed to stop to grab a bite to eat, you would stop to grab a bite to eat. If the kids need to use the restroom, we would go and use the restroom. You know what I mean? And then if you had to, stop by a little smaller supermarket to get something that you need, you would do that. And then when you got home, you'd unpack everything. So it wouldn't be shopping for the frozen items work first. It would be like, okay, we got to go to Sam's Club. We do most of our shopping at Sam's Club. And then we may have to stop at like a little off brand, non big box store. You know what I mean? Hey, Darlene. Good to see you. Glad you made it live. Packages that start to show, Packages that start to thaw will leak goo, which needs to be cleaned up long before there is really any real risk of spoilage. Interesting. If they're in bags, it should be fine. I forget my groceries sometimes in the bags, and they are fine. That's interesting. Yeah, she need to relax. One last comment before I go. Just heard about the wife shopping because she saw the bill she paid for that food. Get that in the fridge for real. Thanks for hanging out, Ramblin' Bob Reviews. Appreciate it. Jason Noy tests Wake on Solar. Reway does too. He was the first one that I saw do that, and I was like, that's a good test because I discovered it personally right around the time when he started testing for that, and I was just like, man, this. I have a couple of devices. My Super Vito man doesn't wake on solar, and my Bluetti AC60 doesn't wake on solar, which sucks. Because it's in a main area, it powers my internet most of the time. And what else? Oh, I'm gonna get to that. Let me write it down. I'm gonna get to that in a second. Wake on solar. What's the other one? Wake on solar is a big issue. That's something that every power station needs to have. Okay, they turn on with solar, but you have to turn the AC button on or the AC button back on. I'm sure EcoFlow has that in all of their devices now, where the state of the AC is persistent. So if it died with the AC on, it'll turn on with the AC on. At least my little smaller power stations do that. They have wake with AC on or something like that now. Do any small stations do it? I need something for my chicken coop. Yeah, we talked about that, Setai. Is there an update for them now? It just came out for the AC. There is an update for them now. Are we talking about the AC staying on? Setai, I haven't tested that. I haven't needed to use any small power stations continuously like that. My fridge has gotten antibacterial growth in it, and the others have ultraviolet light to kill bacteria. Interesting. Hey, 2%. I saw your comment the other time. You were saying you weren't getting notifications. Something, guys, we have to understand about YouTube is YouTube doesn't allow subscriptions to dictate to what it shows you. It goes off of what you watch and what you spend time engaging with. That's why you watch some stuff and you're not even subscribed to it, and YouTube shows it to you. So if you ain't been rocking with me 2%, you need to start rocking with me again. Nah. It could be a lull in me producing content that may contribute to that. I don't know that for sure, but I think it could play a role. So I'll say this, even if you see a video from me that you don't want to watch, just go back and play it at some point. You don't have to play it during your current active session, but if you just remember, oh, let me watch that Ask God video. I do that with Jason Noy's videos sometimes, because I don't always want to watch all of his videos. I think he has a video out now that I'm like, I don't do that with Will Prowse's videos either. I don't watch all his videos, because there's some things that he does that I'm just not interested in. I don't have the capacity, the utilitarian person that I am. It's like if you're talking about a ground mount from somebody, I'm not ground mounting no panel, so I don't watch that video. What you need, buddy? Saya, what you need?
So I think I need honey. I'm coughing so much.
I haven't heard you cough once. What you talking about? You coughing so much?
I'm coughing, Daddy.
Have you heard him cough?
I'm coughing, Daddy.
You just want some honey. That's what.
No, I was actually coughing.
Okay, I believe you. I believe you. We'll keep an ear out for it, and if it gets really bad, we'll entertain giving you some honey. If I missed anyone's comment because I had scrolled down, I wanted to see what y'all had to say about my wife and her ridiculousness. So I may have missed I missed some comments. Okay, Dwayne talked about the AC 100, EcoFlow Pro, Medea. And Will gives away a lot of his stuff. I'm just looking at Ramblin' Bob's comment. He gives away a lot of his stuff on his forum. So I'm sure he has a ton of power still, but he may not have as much power as we think he has. Oh wow. Green Gooseman says the Pecron E1500 LFP is $599. I don't even remember what the specs are on that thing. I some stuff leaves me if I don't have a use for it. Let's take a poke around here. Pecron is supposed to be sending me their little inverter thingy, the DC charger. I'm looking forward to that if they actually send it. They're not sending it out now, but that's crazy. $600 for that device. Let's see if it's on Amazon for that price. I'm sorry. Thanks, Mark. Mark sent me $15. I appreciate you, sir. You're still around. Let me drop the link to their site, and then we'll see if it's on Jeff Bezos' brainchild. Pecron E1500. It's $800 there with a $200 coupon, so $600, $599. That's man, that's not compelling for me, but that's a good way to start your joint. The only thing I would say about Pecron is I've had some issues with them. I had an issue with my E600 twice, I think. One was a very superficial issue, and then the other one had a more serious issue. I can't remember what it was. The superficial issue was my USB ports weren't working, and then the second one, it just stopped charging. It wouldn't charge from anything. 5521 order, a little proprietary joint, but the one I have now is still kicking. And to be honest with you guys, I think it stopped charging from solar. I had it hooked into a panel just on my back porch, and I went out there one time and then it wasn't charging, but the 5521 still works, and the AC charging still works. But I was having an issue with the solar. I'm not sure why. I'm not pinning it on them. It could have been the solar array. I can't imagine how, because that solar array is working fine on everything I plug into it. But so if you I don't know if I would risk buying a Pecron as my only device. I would have to have something else. That way, just in case if I had an issue, I could deal with their warranty situation. Guys, watch your tone. Saya, do you hear me? Take 15 minutes, go upstairs. You don't talk to me like that. Go now. Put the remote down, somebody else gets a turn. You get to come back after their turn. Hold on, what's 2% saying? Hey, what's happening? I appreciate that. Electron Zoom Pop. ElectronZap.com. Let's see. Oh, so I am going to be giving away a panel or two, possibly. I feel like I still owe Grand Acres a panel, so one of those panels just may have to go to her by default. And I'm giving away the Sateki. You're getting it up out of here. The Sateki, I want to give away the Sateki. I want to give away my Big Blue eventually, and I want to give away my first Oops eventually. But the Sateki and the Big Blue are first because one, the Sateki has a weird charging port. I'm not a fan of that, but it does charge over USB and it does dual charge, but it can't power and charge at the same time through AC, which is annoying. And the Big Blue is the same thing. But the Big Blue is nice because it triple charges. It charges over 5525 and 260 volt US 60 watt USB-C ports, but it can't charge and discharge at the same time. So I feel like they could get up out of here. So the Sateki's going to go first, and I'm going to give away one of these Rock Pals panels. It's a PET panel, but it's a 120, I believe, instead of a 100. So you could kind of use it periodically. And Bear, you still around? My son about to catch these hands, y'all. And I may give away another panel. I have one panel that I was thinking about giving away the Yargo, maybe, because I got an Ecosonic 100 watt folding panel that the video is gonna come out soon. If you guys are interested, when I put the video out in an unlisted, maybe I'll put it in the links of this live stream. So if you want to come check back, because I'm editing that video now, maybe the link will be down there. You could check it out early if you want. I got an Ecosonic panel. I have one of the shade stopper panels. I need to do a video for that one. So that's two 100 watts off the bat. Then I got a 200 watt coming from Bluetti. So I have the Yargo. I have the Big Blue still. I like the Big Blue because it's a bifold. So I don't know if I'll give that one away, but I could. I got the Ellie Conta. I like the Ellie Conta because of the form factor. I have two Rock Pals. I got a PET and an ETFE. I'm going to give away the PET one. I like the ETFE one because of the form factor, but it dead ends in Anderson. Both of the Rock Pals dead end in Anderson. But the one that I'm going to give away, I'm going to give an adapter that at least goes to 8mm, I believe. So I got the Yargo that I usually use to charge up my power station with the built-in solar panel, which is powering this laptop right now because my AC200P died. And I have another panel downstairs that I haven't even opened that's from Flashfish, but I don't like the design of it. It looks a little cheap. So I was thinking about giving that one away. It looks cheap. I don't know if it is cheap. I haven't even opened it. So that could be a good two panels that are going out in one power station. Also, I'll save that for another joint. I wanted to read this. I agree with Dell. It's been hot here in California. We ain't in California. We on the East Coast. She need to relax. I have to buy Mom ice cream and I have to hurry to get it home. By the time I get it home, it's melted. Yeah, I guess that's Cali's a struggle. Oh, I was trying to get y'all the Amazon link. Let me get the Amazon link out here because I think this is a good look. This is the Pecron. That's $600. So you got the Pecron that's $600, in which is a 2200 watt inverter. What I think that thing said 1500 watt hours. Yeah, that's crazy. That's a crazy deal. Does it dual charge? I can't tell and I can't see. Okay, it does dual charge, but I don't want to say it dual charges. I think it dual charges, but it has two solar inputs, two DC inputs. It has a 32 volts and 95 volts, so you have to use something in series, and then it has a 100 watt that you could use with 12 volt. I really think that they should have their 12 volt joint do 200 watts of solar. That would be fantastic. But anyway, I'm trying to finish these comments. Is that the panel that died? No, the panel that died is the Renogy Eclipse, their nicer 100 watt panel. I know, that's what I said, right? I'm trying to put a fridge in there. Oops. I won the Rock House 300 from you. Am I eligible to enter again? Absolutely. I don't think we've gotten to a space where I feel like, oh yeah, if you won something, don't enter again. I don't know if I'll ever get there. It's like you're part of the community. I give back to the community. I use insulated bags. If I'm only buying a few frozen things, I will throw an ice pack in there. That should work in California. Interesting. All right. Got a start coming. Okay, cool. I think I went over all the joints. So, in closing, dang, it's been 2 hours easy talking about running the time up. In closing, I would say, while I am experiencing a little bit of frustration with these situations, I do have a bit of recourse in that one, the channel continues to grow. I'm about 1,000 subs away from 10,000 subs, which has kind of been my magic mark of feeling like I've kind of made it as a YouTuber. I think I wish I could find a video, but Roberto Blake, who's like a YouTube coach, he was like, like 90% of channels never hit 10,000 subscribers. Jason Noyes at 75, which is bananas, man. Kudos to him. He'll be at 100 in a hot second. I know Hobotech was happy when he hit 100, and he said it was a grind for him to hit 100. So Jason Noyes at 75, man. 75 is some change. So shout out to him. I remember when Jason Noyes was at like 15. So kudos to him. But the channel is continuing to grow. I need to redo my banner. Let me get y'all input on this because some of y'all have had some really good like summaries of what my channel is about. What I kind of constantly land on is this idea of packaging my channel as one is my stuff is for solar enthusiasts. It's not for people who are new to solar and don't know anything. Yes, I speak in a beginner friendly way. I do think it's beginner friendly, but it's not for people who come off the street and don't know nothing about nothing. I think that the channel has evolved kind of past that particular stage, but my older videos are still out there for that. And I can still kind of speak to a very basic concept and understanding. I think that my channel is about practically evaluating devices and using them in real life. Real life is a word that doesn't quite quantify what I'm getting at, but that's the only phrase I can come up with because everything is done in real life, right? But I think that it's practical. It's more for homeowners than because here's the thing in YouTube, you got to be able to find your perfect audience and then finding your perfect viewer or whatever, you you get so good at speaking to that viewer that other viewers kind of want to watch your content because the content starts to get focused. And I'll give you a perfect example of that. We all love Will Prowse's content in some capacity for some amount of time. Will Prowse is a DIY guy. That's his bread and butter. I am not a DIY guy, but I still watch his content because his content is focused. It's not all over the place. It's not willy-nilly. When you have a focus as it relates to a viewer that comes to mind for you, it gives you the ability to speak to certain things that people appreciate, and they can still find value in it, even though they're not your perfect viewer. So for me, I make content for people who have some solar knowledge. They love solar. They enjoy it. It's fun. They use it for all the things. They want to power their stuff. They want to save money. My ideal viewer is a homeowner because I'm not out in the woods. I'm not a camping guy. You know, I don't care about stuff like that. So those people, even though people who love to do that watch the channel, they're not my ideal viewer. And I think my ideal viewer is in some ways a person who has to, maybe not ideal, but it mirrors me. You know, I'm a family man. I own a home. I have the ability to deploy panels in my yard. I don't live in an apartment. So a good thing to do when you're setting out on this YouTube thing is to know who your content is for and to also understand who your content is not for. Not that those people can't watch, but yeah, you're not going to. I don't have a whole lot of solutions for apartment dwellers. I don't think anybody does. So I'm trying to get my banner to speak to that and to be clear about who it's for. Because when you do that, the people who see the banner can know who it's for and who it's not for. And then people who speak about the channel, they can have it embedded in their mind like, yeah, this guy, he makes videos about real life practical thoughts on these power stations. What it is not is it's not testing and specs and all of that. It's like actual using it, going through the ropes, finding the quirks, finding the nuances. So I need to find a way to present that in a way that my banner tells the story very clearly so people know. So some people have given me some really good ideas and examples, and I need to kind of rebrand so that my banner speaks to that. Right now, it says simple solar power for beginners like me. And that works, but I don't think that that's what the content is about anymore. What are y'all thoughts? I'm scrolling. You see me scrolling. They hating. What's up, Bob? I just learned. I'm wrapping up now. And I'm already dressed, so I ain't got to do much else. I just learned that when your solar input is lower or equal to your output, that will eventually damage your battery. I read that somewhere on the EcoFlow app. I don't agree with that. I think the reason why they say that is they're trying to cover their bases. A lot of people say you shouldn't charge and discharge your power station at the same time, and you'll find that in your manual. But yet the devices do pass through charging, or what we call pass through charging, which is to be able to solar charge or AC charge and also power a device at the same time. So I think what it is that in an ideal situation, do you want to be charging and discharging your power station at the same time? Nah, but that's what it's made for. It's a feature that people want. I don't know that I agree with that. Anybody who has any thoughts on that can chime in. It's basically like when your solar input. So if you have 200 watts coming in, it's not ideal to do 200 watts coming out. I don't know that I care. Oh. In closing, you need to get an Anker 600 watt hour. What is that? It's Anker 6,000 watt hour and a 9. What is that? You talking about one of them devices you have? Nice. That's what's up. 30K subs, 100,000 will be a huge milestone. Listen, I ain't mad at that. I just know I can I plug it in? Okay, true. Curtains covered by numbers and formulas, your head peeking out from them, looking beyond the number. That's interesting. I thought about something just as plain as like testing it. Yeah, I don't know. It's like testing is important, but it's not the most important thing to me. I think the testing makes you feel better about your purchase, to know all of the ins and outs. I'll give this example. On a user's buyer's journey, I think that if you're weighing your options, my video is giving you a quick overview, caveats, quirks, um, features, and implications of those features. Huh? I say quirks, weirdo. um, like that Go Labs joint, fantastic little device, still kicking. I didn't need someone necessarily to test that up and down the wazoo to give me confidence to buy that one. I think that all purchases don't need that. But when you start to get more intentional about your purchases, yeah, it's nice. I feel like Jason Noy's videos are a good thing to watch before you about to spend some serious coin. But for me, when I'm just learning about a device, I don't care about the testing. I don't care about those numbers. I'll watch like the solar input video to figure out what the solar input is. I'll watch like the AC charging to get some information about that. And then I might bounce to the pros and cons because that's what matters to me. So when you're about to buy a Blue Eddy AC 300. Yeah, watching Jason Noy's video, that's probably important. But I don't think it's always necessary. It's helpful because but I feel like you can easily be informed about what you'll get in a package from a device by me having an AC 300, AC 500 video. I don't know. I think it's different lanes for different folks at different times in their purchase journey, depending on the level of confidence they have in that company and potentially that device. Yes, saving money is important, but I don't think it's quintessential to the content that I make. The content is not necessarily about saving money. It's a kind of underpinning value. Well, that's a good point. The only thing that would damage anything is heat. So I guess charging and discharging at the same time could reduce heat, but they have fans in them for a reason. Okay, electronzap.com. I feel like you should be able to change your name to make sure that reads a little bit better these days. I don't think it has to be one single word. You can go into like a lot of people have. We have our handles now, and we also have the ability to change our name overall. So I think you should entertain that. Good point. Thanks. You're welcome. At least now we will never buy a 110 device. A 110 device is fine if you're not getting super serious about what you have to power. 110 powers a ton of stuff in my house. A TV being on 110, a fridge being on 110, maybe a fan being on 110. It runs a little slower. Charging a computer from 110, like monitors, laptops, other power stations. 110, it's cool, but when you're trying to power that microwave and it's used to pulling 1700 watts and the 110 has it pulling 1500 watts, then you got to warm your food up for longer. So 110 is fine until you get to a point where you're getting serious about it. And then if you always want to get the best, then you get 120 out the gate. But we have to find this balancing act between how much we can get for our money because of how much we can afford. So if you just starting out and you want some peace of mind because a hurricane may come through or you lose power during a storm, then a 110 power station for $600 versus a 120 power station for $799, $800, you might have to go with that $600 joint. And let's be clear, most people will not buy only one power station in their lifetime. So, you know, I mean, it's okay to have a 110, but just know what the limitations are. Later. All right, folks, I'm gonna get up out of here. Thanks for hanging out. Uh, Keep in mind that during the next live stream, when I give this stuff away, I give it away based on people who are on the live stream who comment, because that way I can know you're a subscriber, because my live streams are limited to subscribers only. So that's kind of how I make sure that the giveaways go to the community. So when we do that, if you're on the live stream, the next live stream, which is when I'll do the giveaway, make sure you comment, even if it's just to say here, present type of thing. Oh, y'all be beautiful. We're going to go enjoy this Saturday at some point, even though it's hot and my wife is a bum for taking us out in the heat.